time when the crime rate is rising, we find more policemen resigning. More and more we note our educators heading for greener pastures, coupled with the fact that our nurses migrating for bigger purses. We question their patriotism, but we must contain this brain drain. Brain drain. How can we prevent the nation's top talent from jumping on a plane? The brain drain. Brain drain. I must question why this phenomenon is happening again. Some say it's political persecution and no appreciation for their dedication. Some say that when they work in other islands, they are better paid for the brain drain, driving we insane. It's so sad to see the talent migrating from my country. Hi-ya-ya! Whoa-ah-whoa.
Share the alarm, share the alarm.
Whoa-ah-whoa. Bring it again. Whoa-ah-whoa. Whoa-ah-whoa. At a time when our economy is floundering in bankruptcy, at a time when the powers that be is selling our patronymy, at a time when the youth of our nation are acting out in rebellion, they're crying out for attention, still we entertain this brain drain. Brain drain. How can we prevent the nation's top talent from jumping on a plane? The brain drain. Brain drain. I must question why this phenomenon is happening again. Many college students after graduation faced with the unemployment situation, though they want to stay and make a contribution, fly to USA cause the brain drain, giving we migrants. It's so sad to see the talent live in my sweet country. Hi-ya-ya! Boy!
Share the alarm, share the alarm.
Oh, hi-ya-oh. Bring it again. We're feeling it. Oh, nice man. Hi-ya-oh. At a time when the country's importing 80% of what they are consuming, at a time when the CSME is regarded with uncertainty, at a time when the foreign investors, quote unquote, flocking to our shores, from sugar workers to college lecturers, face redundancy, cause the brain drain. The brain drain. How can we prevent the nation's top talent from jumping on a plane? The brain drain. Brain drain. I must question why this phenomenon is happening again. Some say it's political persecution or no appreciation for their dedication. Some say that when they work in other islands, they are better paid for the brain drain, driving we insane. It's so sad to see the talent living my sweet country, cause of the brain drain.
Share the alarm, share the alarm.
Brain drain. How can we prevent the nation's top talent from jumping on a plane? Brain drain. students after graduation, faced with the unemployment situation. Though they want to stay and make a contribution, fly to USA, cause the brain drain, giving we migrate. It's so sad to see my people live in my sweet country. Hi, yeah, yeah. Oh. Bring it again, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, that's the Queen. Anastasia. That one is called Brain Drain. I'm DJ Mauricio and I'm coming to you live and direct from the Gaza here in the Boogie Down Bronx, New York. Yes, you heard it right. The DJ is in the US for a bit, taking care of some personal issues, and we'll be right back in the Federation shortly. But for those of you who may be just scrolling the web and you bump into us and wondering what this podcast is all about, let's drop this ad and bring you up to speed on what the DJ is doing.
Wednesday evenings are heating up. Log on to DJ Mauricio's Facebook Live broadcast every Wednesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. It's a frank and candid exploration into the social, cultural, political, and economic issues affecting our federation. And just in case you missed it, you can also catch the broadcast on his YouTube channel, DJ Mauricio. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube and smash that bell. You will be notified whenever he goes live. DJ Mauricio, every Wednesday evening, Facebook 6 to 8 p.m. or thereafter on his YouTube channel, DJ Mauricio. Log on.
Yes, you heard it right. That's the DJ Mauricio podcast right here each and every Wednesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. We come a bit early this afternoon to accommodate the public feed there and the Facebook channel. So just before we get into our main event, let me make a quick stop across here by my boy there, the man, Aston Corker, over there at 3A's Other Services. So, Brother Corker, come in.
Attention vehicle owners and operators. Your driving experience just got better. Yes, you heard it right. 3A's Auto Services, located Main Street, Sandy Point, St. Kitts, where you have tire sales and installation, vehicular repairs, and other services. You can reach Mr. Aston Corker at 869-664-2204, 869-667-2071, or 869-665-0605. Yes, 3A's Auto Services, located at Main Street, Sandy Point, St. Kitts, just above the Brimstone Hills Fortress. And you can reach out to them for emergency roadside services. Remember, Brother Aston Corker is available 24/7. Just call those numbers.
Yes, that's the man there, Brother Aston Corker. 3A's Auto Services, their Main Street, Sandy Point, St. Kitts. And Brother Corker is available to you 24/7. Just let Brother Corker know that DJ Mauricio sent you. He takes care of you. We're going to take a quick run across to our sister island, Nevis, and hear what my boy there, Brother Cabo, have to tell us about his delicatessens there. Take a listen to Brother Cabo.
Cabo's, located at Fountain Village in Nevis, is the go-to spot for your Saturday treats. Tantalize your taste buds with his delectable Cabo's Delicacy Goat Water. Or, if you prefer some soul food, then Cabo's Punji and Fish is definitely the way to go. Call ahead and reserve at 869-663-9694. Then make your way over to Cabo's and enjoy the vibrant atmosphere while you savor your delicacy. Cabo's, we are not changing, we are only improving.
Food all over, food all over. You got the food all over.
Yes, you heard it right. That Brother Carbo has the food all over Nevis and all over St. Kitts there. The man of the Federation, the man of the hour. Just that Brother Carbo and DJ Marisha send you. Now let's check in with my girl, dear sister Carmen of Carmen Caterers.
Girl Sandra, you know where you can find nice fresh local food 7 days a week, one provision and all kind of thing. Girl, where? Right down there by Shellings, by Carmen Catering Services. Girl, she opposite the bus stop. Girl, and she also cater for weddings, parties, anything you want to cater for, funeral and all. Girl, and trust me, you're gonna enjoy the food. And she also selling bites and Sundays. Opposite the car shop, right down the main road. Girl, you could call 665-1494 or 663-6005 to order your food or go and pick up your food. Girl, the food will be finger licking and you get your money worth. You ain't want nothing better than that.
Yes, you're right about that. Sister Carmen is the #1 chef there in our Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. And she keep you busy there down at the Share Lane there, downtown Bastille, right opposite the West Ferry Terminal. Monday to Saturday from midday until around 5 p.m. Once food lasts, you can catch Sister Carmen there. But on a Sunday, you catch her in the village of Boyd's, right opposite their Gower shop there. And she's also there from midday until about 5. So just spread the word that Sister Carmen is there to provide you with some good meals on a Sunday in the Boys Village. Now let's take a run across to the Virgin Islands and hear what my boy, Brother Malvern Gums of the Spectrum Band have to say about the DJ.
Hey, this is Malvern from Spectrum Band, and you're listening to DJ Marisha, playing you the best in Caribbean music.
You got that?
Hey, this is Malvern from Spectrum Band, and you're locked into DJ Marisha. Keep it locked.
Right there. And just before we get into Brother Dwyer Astafan's commentary, let me drop this little clip of one of our icons there, our prophet, the man Dr. Garfield Alexander, is giving you a little view, his view of the DJ.
DJ Marisha, I don't want you guys to take your eyes off him. Remember, he's been around for some time. Let's go back to COVID and lockdowns. The gentleman came in, was locked down in quarantine, and then realized the total hypocrisy, tyranny, and oppression of the then administration during our most horriblest time. Spoke out. Not only spoke out, became an activist. And then you know what he did? Organize and centralize. And he never stopped organizing and centralizing until Timothy was gone. I don't even want to talk about the involvement he had before and the Douglas administration and the Harris. We ain't gonna talk about that. I'm just talking that during COVID, that man, both on this front, locally, and in the US, waged war against tyranny and oppression. One simple man. A DJ, as he calls himself. He never called himself an engineer or anything else. Just a DJ. Because he understands the power of voice. And not just voice, autonomous, independent, honest, transparent voice always wins in the end. So it could be persons with unlimited power and unlimited money. He somehow always becomes the David against the Goliaths. Be careful with him. Be kind to him. Watch him. Because trust me, he's going to triumph in the end again.
Yes, and that's the prophecy of Brother Dr. Garfield Alexander. Now we're going to move right into Brother Dwight Astafan's commentary for today, Wednesday, August 27th, final Wednesday of the month, as we continue with our struggle to save our little Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis from these criminals we call politicians and government of our beloved Federation.
Greetings. Today I wish to discuss the Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Act, which was passed recently in the National Assembly. But first I must say that while in principle I am not opposed to special development zones, I urge caution with regard to these things. Why? 1. St. Kitts and Nevis are two small islands, very small. Land is limited. We have to make sure that sustainable long-term planning for our land use is in place so as to avoid mistakes which we may not be able to remedy, not us, those to follow, 20, 30, 40, 60 years from now. Secondly, these master developers who would come in and do these zones, remember these are going to be separate spaces, with special concessions and arrangements with the government. We have to make sure we don't allow for the creation of different principalities in St. Kitts and Nevis, eroding not just the landmass available freely to the people of these islands, but the economic opportunities that would ordinarily have been made available were it not for these developments. And part and parcel of that concern is that these master developers, if we're not careful, can become our masters, being the new iteration of the plantation system, where they control the land or they control the significant elements of the economy. And you know what Marcus Garvey said? Who controls the land controls the country. The third concern is, of course, that this now can cause our sovereignty to be diluted, which means that the national psyche, the national security, and the organs of national governance, all of them compromised. And the last reason for concern is the experience we've had from Christopher Harbour, which reached the point of borrowing money from our banking system, from our SIDF, owing everybody in the country. So we have to be very careful. Now let me go to the Act quickly and briefly. The objectives of the Act, they spin around the first one, to promote sustainable development in the Federation in harmony with nature for generations to come. So if we can get people to partner us in our development without marginalizing us, without disrespecting us, without compromising our national institutions and our national integrity, then that would be a great thing. And that is where the rubber meets the road. That is where our decision makers have to be thorough and have to always remember who put them there to decide for us and whose servants they are. And there's a number of objectives, one of which speaks to sustaining and following the 7 pillars of sustainability, which are water security, energy transition to renewables, food security, sustainable industry, like that it means industries which observe the environmental mandates, for example, ecotourism or green manufacturing, sustainable settlements, housing and infrastructure, again, observing environmental mandates, the circular economy, which implements practices that minimize waste and promote reuse and recycling. And of course, social protection, which speaks about expanding social safety nets and so forth. Now, I am not in favor of expanding social safety nets. Maybe you have to, but if you're planning prosperity for a country, you shouldn't be planning to expand social safety nets. You should be planning to reduce them, because in bringing the prosperity, more and more people become financially, economically, and socially independent. So I don't know if somebody got a little mixed up in the use of those words there. Now, in order for a project to get going, there has to be a development agreement. Development agreements are to be signed by the Prime Minister with the prior approval of Cabinet. And when the process is finished, order is signed, it goes into the Gazette. I want to recommend 2 more steps. A first step, which would be to present the project to the country for national consultation. And the last step would be, after the Prime Minister signs off, to send the matter to Parliament as a law, which is suggested in part of the Act. For part of it, I want to suggest that it apply for all of it. All of it is sent to the Parliament to be debated and passed into the law, so that that development agreement becomes part of the law. And we must stop hiding our major agreements and documents from the people of the country. Now, for a master developer to get approved, he has to present an economic analysis done by a reputable professional, which will forecast that the proposed zone that he wants to put up is likely to generate long-term economic opportunities, to create permanent employment. Any mention of employment in this act, anyone, does not speak to improving employment opportunities for our people. And I think they should. Employment for locals must be prioritized. And where there are no locals available and non-locals have to be brought in, training must be made available to the locals, technological transfer, so that they can benefit from those new skills, and then we reduce the needs to rely on others. That is an integral part of nation building, which is being seriously neglected and has been for the last nearly 50 years in the country. Speaks about domestic investment. Again, here's another opportunity to get petitions and divisions at all levels of the economy, big or small or in between, to invest. And I'm hoping that the government, in considering these proposals, will put in arrangements whereby our small people can invest in these projects too. We don't want our people to be marginalized. We don't want gates blocking them from coming in to these projects. If these are economic zones, then our people must not be blocked from coming in. You can't be discriminating against the people like that. But they also cannot be discriminated against in terms of investment. So they have to do a lot of things. I am suggesting that regard to the analysis, the government will have to get its own analyst to vet the analysis of the developer's person. And I would want to suggest that the government should have the developer foot the bill for that. The zone developer has to prove he has the ability, the financial means, and all of these other things. And the arrangements in the agreement must keep the developer on the straight and narrow every step of the way. We have seen too many projects in St. Kitts where there's been looseness, and I could use other words, on the government side. And these things have allowed people to gallop away with money and leave unfinished projects. The island is littered with them. There are other conditions that must go into the development agreement. There must be development milestones, timelines, and commitments. And again, the government has to make sure that those are met, and that the penalties for not doing so are very serious. Not no slap on the wrists. This is important stuff. The provisions have to state that time is of the essence, and a number of other things. The agreement must also indicate that there are certain areas of governance that will remain with the government, and that's obvious. But it is now put into law that any agreement must include those provisions. But I don't see anything to do with price control or quality control or anything like that. And those things should not be presumed. They should be expressed in the agreements. As a matter of course, healthcare, consumer protection, price control, these kind of things. We need to know about the arrangements of how goods and services will come into the country and perhaps go out from these zones. They cannot be left alone, Otherwise, we'll get some blows. Now, there is another section of the Act which says that a development agreement may contain certain provisions. That is Section 6, subsection 2. I disagree with the use of the word may. I think the word should be must, shall. For example, instead of saying a development agreement may contain certain provisions related to the following matters, it should say shall, and some of the matters are full or partial transfer of rights granted to a specific zone to other persons or others. So assignment. This should be shall. Development agreement shall contain provisions with regard to the timely issuance of all government permits and a number of other things. Those things should not be may. And one of the things that is included in this may be contained in the agreement has to do with leasing of the seabed. Seabed leasing takes place in the world, but we cannot repeat the mistakes that we made with Christoph Harbour. The seabed goes out to the international limits 12 miles out. If you have a special zone that abuts the coast, you can have provisions that give you access and egress into your property and back out into the sea. But why should I have a seabed lease at all? I'm concerned with that. I'm wondering whether this is going to be used to pass over to a new agreement with safe harbors. And I'm not against safe harbors. I support it. But this is an opportunity to get rid of some of the bad provisions that were there before. And there are other things, but time is not on my side. The concessions, which is Section 8, the concessions and exemptions and all of those things, with respect to government charges that may be granted to a zone developer, shall be those the Prime Minister, with the approval of Cabinet, shall determine. I don't agree with that. It should be the Cabinet. And those approvals must be in proportion to the anticipated benefits to the public and the government. We, the public, will need to know what criteria will the government be using to measure the anticipated benefits. Now, whereas with regard to the federal government, it is the Prime Minister, with the approval of Cabinet, okay, who determines the concessions. In the case of navies, it is the Navy's Cabinet. So it neither should be the Prime Minister at the federal level, nor the Premier at the Navy's level. It should be the cabinets. And they should use the same criteria and methodologies so that they could both come to the most sensible and sustainable conclusions ever. This, I believe, is well-intentioned, but I believe there is a lot more that is needed. I mentioned earlier about blocking out our people from these developments. And we need to get it clear and we need to make it clear too, that the people of this country, I could see you having a gated community, houses and so forth. These things happen all over the world. That's not segregation or discrimination, anything like that. That is unacceptable. But if there are business opportunities in those zones, and leisure opportunities in those zones, and investment opportunities in those zones, our people cannot be blocked and must not be blocked. So much for that for now. Thank you very much.
Yes, that is the commentary for today, Wednesday, August 27th. By the man himself, G.A. Dwyer Astafan. Brother Astafan, I want to thank you for that commentary. I actually was looking forward to that. I figure last Wednesday might have been a quick, too soon for you to get it together. So I want to thank you for that commentary. I have two guests with me this evening that was here last Wednesday to continue our conversation. I see Brother Benter, mic is already open. So Brother Benter, go ahead and introduce yourself. Brother Garfield, if you can hear me, open your mic, please. Yeah, Brother Benter.
Sure. Good afternoon to your listening audience. My name is Oakland Benter. I'm a former chief of police, former senator of the U.S. Virgin Islands, and former vice president of a telecommunication corporation throughout the European nation, Asia, and Australia, South America. And I'm happy to be here with you this afternoon again.
Thank you, brother. Alexander, can you hear me?
Yes, man. Loud and clear.
All right, come through. Yours, a synopsis of who is Dr. Alexander.
Garfield Alexander, citizen of Lionigo. Studied 7 years in socialist Cuba. So I'm a human medicine specialist, doctor, GP, community doctor. And like I said, son of the soil, someone who is striving to be sovereign and would like the same for his nation.
Thanks for those introductions. Gentlemen, we continue to be at a very serious crossroad in our beloved Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And as such, I continue to come here on a Wednesday evening to bring the information to the general public, not to change mind, but to allow them, to afford them the information that is available and have them make their decision in the best interest of the country and themselves. And bear in mind, I said the country and themselves. Our motto is country above self. Just about 2-3 weeks ago, I think it's 2 weeks back, I had a gentleman here by the name of Rudy Val, who have state claim to the motto that is on our coat of arms, country above self, who after some 41, going on 42 years, have yet to be recognized for doing that job. So I'm hoping that the powers that be is dealing with that situation. We just heard a commentary there by G.A. Dwyer Astafan about some SSZ, a new act or a new bill that was presented in Parliament a few weeks back by the Prime Minister, supported by the leader of the opposition, Premier Brantley, and his entire team there, Nevis, to carve out some areas in our island of Nevis and St. Kitts for some project. I refer it to gated neighborhoods. Basically, that is what it is here in the US. I call it that. After much reaction from the general public, more so on Nevis, Premier Brantley came to the nation on Monday evening and made a presentation. I will play that clip in a bit for the benefit of those who did not hear it. But I am of the view that we elect these politicians to come to the people, who come to the country and ask for an opportunity to do right by the country and for the citizens and to take us forward. I have a serious issue when we have situation as important as a sustainable zone, economic zone, to be taken to Parliament to become an act without any kind of public conversation, without coming to the public to get their views. It's like, as they say, putting the horse before the cart. And it's really unfortunate that we have individuals who does not understand it, does not see it. And it's unfortunate that we have some people who are so politically blind that no matter what is done wrong by their political party, they support it. But then it will be too late at some point in time for all of us. So, but Alexander, you're on the ground there in St. Kitts, Nevis. I do not know if you're familiar with this zone that is in contention at the moment. If you are, give me your views, give us your views and that situation and the commentary there from Dwyer Estevan.
Okay, I don't have much of a commentary on Dwyer. For me, he's still very much on defense in certain areas, and I heard him mention something there at the very end, where he was almost justifying gated communities, and that peeves me, because if you would research the history of Dwyer's family and his people, because all of us have a root and a heritage. Yeah, that should be somebody that should be against those type of things. Because I saw official documents from Britain that was stating that his family and the persons that were seeking refuge from war at that time had to pass in the passports, as we do with criminals now, and had to check in and had a fine-tuned list of all the names of the families. And nobody's treated like that, no. Nobody's treated like that, no. So when we come from a heritage of that, it bothers me that we somehow have that amnesia, because I see that in my people too. Because how is it that we're going on to another zone when our industrial zone has never lived up to its full potential, and that can feed, that was supposed to elevate, that has been there since independence, since the PAM administration, the first independent administration, and that still has not been strategized, that still has been maximized. Christoph Harbour, we still have not seen clarity on that, even when the two politicians who are speak on it, which is Dr. Drew and Dr. Harris. They leave out Dr. Douglas, who was the originator of the contract. That somehow, again, that amnesia that we see. Because one of the things I'm really keen on, and again, I studied in Cuba South Side, is that persons can come to you with facts, but don't have context. And sometimes when we say context, we see 3 paragraphs stolen. Doc, how can you be saying that it doesn't have context? I could see content here, but there's difference between context and content, because there's another device that they use where they just frame or they lead certain aspects or just give one perspective, and or the times when the news or the media is supposed to be on defense and allow you to make that educated guess. No, it's never like that. So there's a lot of that, and you see that even with our present administration, that you go on the comments, you see these positive comments about positive comments, and you go in and these are persons who have one person on the name. So you have people using bots. Why would an incumbent government be that desperate? So again, we can't go on to yet another zone without addressing the failures of the ones we've had before, because it's through our failures that we understand what needs to be done. Is when we drop short and when people don't actually benefit. that we are supposed to readjust and recalibrate. But no, we seem as if we want to abandon projects and abandon zones and recalibrate and remake zones haphazardly. And again, I see people applaud in honor the politicians. And again, we all can't think the same. So I'm not looking for everybody to think the same. But I'm saying those of us who understand that something is egregious in what's been going on and continues to go on, even though we're shouting, then we must act. There's a point at which we must act, because obviously, I'm going to repeat it again, these guys will prefer to be premier, prime minister, AG, and all the other positions. Off the ashes, they will allow this country to go on and dwell by out in small fires and not actually calling the fire truck, or calling the fire truck and giving them the wrong direction doesn't work well with me. It doesn't bounce well on me. Yeah, because he claims to be a great, and this is now weekly that he's doing that program. So it must amount to much more. He can't be just taking down governments and we're going along our merry way and then we loop back around to the very same. And that seems to be what we want to do. We cannot do that. It can't be, we just accept what's going on. So for me, both our leaders, and I can say that as a sovereign citizen, that both our leaders to me and they are not complying with the fiduciary duties nor responsibilities. It's almost like we are a governless country at this moment. These guys are not fulfilling their promises. They're fulfilling the promise, and you could see it. The contracts are there where they stipulate. He just spoke to it, where people are selling the seabed. Well, if you sell your homeland, the place where you reside, where you're born, or where your forefathers came and reside and live here and have birthed wealth from these lands, if you will sell that, you would sell the sea. Because most people don't understand the plight of the fisherman or the fisher folks. So they will sell the seabed out as far as possible. Why we are ratifying contracts with Japan to come in and fish. So we're selling out things that we already claim to say that they have value and there's an exchange and a value added for it. And we're selling it out and thinking it's just in a parcel. And we could somehow, after we've done all the selling out, sail away on a private yacht, or maybe live in some other land. So for those of us who love this land and this region and see the value in it, we are the ones that have to stand up, because these if we start counting, the problematic persons don't amount to 10. And I'm saying the fiduciary duties, the thing that they swear by, even on the level of the PAM party, the Labour Party, none of these leaders are fulfilling their duties or responsibilities. And they are not going to hold themselves accountable. So what we have to do is understand and know that we deserve better. We deserve a standard of leadership that makes us feel good, that makes us go to bed at night and know, hey, somebody is out there losing sleep over my issues, even if I don't know what the issues are. But when you're going to have a premier that comes weeks after denying all the claims, and somehow skirt around the fact that his wife is selling off all the lands of a government negotiated deal that was never made public, to then afterwards put the cat in front of the horse to decide that he's now going to do consultations, while at consultations, he denied everything. So when we have men in that powerful, in those leadership positions, that seem don't even know the ass from the elbow. Because that's a unique type of psychosis that I'm seeing, both on the level of Mark Brantley and Terence Drew and the persons who are receiving it, that they could, in the instance of Mark Brantley, that he could speak to persons for so long that way. The way he goes about and carries himself and speaks down to people. I could remember, and again, that because I can be so balanced. At one point, I thought this man was the choice, was the future. And he disproved that the first day he got in, because Mark Brantley has always been on a tirade on social media, Facebook. And as soon as he got in, he started to limit the access of civil servants in Nevis to Facebook. And you see that too, where this administration, because all us battled online. And then they're going to get up and start to issue threats from in the House of Assembly, where they're supposed to assemble and deliberate on the issues we have. It's no different from a bar shop. Like the arguments we hear in there and the throwing of stones inside there is the same as any bar shop by Sabah, across George Street, anyone. The level of debate is the same. The level of interruptions, the level of egocentrism is the same in that high house. And that may be well with us, because I know I grew up laughing at that, and then the social commentary and the calypso, and we make, you know, because it's a thought of trauma. It's a time of trauma recognition that we can't do anything about it. We don't feel empowered. So we just laugh at it. But I know, I could speak for my daughter. They seem oblivious, but they see it as nonsense. Because rather than us who had just had this manifest in front of us, these children are on TikTok, Facebook, and they're seeing cultures, they're seeing families, they're seeing how they relate, and how that could be progressive, and how that could be exciting, and that could be informative, and how they could be feel empowered. Even in my generation, we used to talk about the kids and how the Americans could call in social services. Well, here, what do social services mean to us? That you would know you're suffering, and just to go and admit certain things and be carried through the loop, or sent up Newton Health Center and sent up Newton Community Center. I used to sit as a doctor with my patients in the community, and enough times I had to put my hand in my pocket. That's something I could admit now. To just give money, because sometimes you go and you give them the free prescription, and you would see the prescriptions already. Sometimes 12 drugs under prescription just to make sure it fit. Because people will put in archaic rules that you can't send 2 prescriptions. That everything must fit. Even on the back of prescriptions, I've tried to just to make sure that these persons can afford. I've placed persons who don't fall within the regime on it because they have no other way. And I may have one person at social service, at all different, at hospital, I could call and say, hey, give this person a blight. That's a Jamaican term. Give this person a chance. So in truth and in fact, for the whole of my medical career, from my time at touching and saying kids, I've been colluding and criminalizing my medical practice, as in I've had to cheat and lie to get people care, or to raise the standard of care for persons. And then I go to the Marriott and start the Marriott. And if I meet a dust, I could call TripAdvisor. And if you see how people shiver and run around and can't get that at the hospital where it's more needed, can't get that at JNF and Mary Charles where I've worked. So when people want to play a theater, the ones that's there, and get upset when you call out what is there, then what are we supposed to talk about? The unrealities that our politicians are promising us on the airwaves? The theatrics that you see them going through? Because again, it becomes so ridiculous when persons try to put substance to nothing. It almost gives me asco in Spanish, because it almost gives me the desire to vomit. When I see what's going on right in front of me with brilliant people, is that because people will have to admit the mistakes they've made, and that includes Dwyer. People will have to admit the mistakes they made, because through the mistakes we are going to know what is best practice then. So I don't even want to hear Mark or Terrence talking about new zone when they haven't ratified or rectified any of the zones that they met or the ones they created before. Because we still don't have any clarity in the CBI, which we know is our major generator. We still don't have any clarity anywhere with the partnerships, with the CBI itself. We have no clarity. Before I finish, I'm just say this, just happened, I was listening to ZZ before I come here, and they had a few women there, but one represented, I think, like returning nationals or Kititians in the diaspora, mainly England. And even this lady, and I know this lady to be a very acclaimed lady and a very astute lady, she was complaining about nationals wanting to come back and working in Britain and working in these first world countries with all these skills that we have been asking for, and we import white people and white consultants for all these skills, just wanting to come back. Some of them want to live. Some of them come back 2 and 3 times a year. The difficulty they're having. One woman said, it has to be the English accent. That's the only problem I could see. So imagine that your own are complaining on the level of your hospital, at the level of your schools that don't have toilet paper and chalk in some instances. And you are somehow fulfilling the needs and the requirements and checking off all that is needed for a group of persons outside of your country because they have $1 billion. And we've seen persons spend $1 billion. We've seen companies lose billions of dollars. So what is $1 billion if we don't have our people? They don't feel like they are of value and can add value and can thrive in a nation after 40 plus years of independence, quote and unquote.
Dr. Alexander, you know, once you touch healthcare, you touch it, DJ. I spent several years in one of the bigger institution, more advanced institution here in the New York area, and by extension, international. And one of the things that really got me was during my stay, my stint at the JNF, there were some folks from the PAHO organization. And during the conversation, I listened to certain things that is said. And when I spoke to the DHI about my concern in certain areas at the JNF, and the DHI is saying to me that according to PAHO, there are other countries in the region that is worse off than us. So that is not a big deal. Is where I realize that we have a problem in St. Kitts and Nevis. Because coming from where I am coming from, I know what can happen in St. Kitts Nevis. It don't cost that much, it's not that hard. But from the Prime Minister down in this present administration, where healthcare is concerned, they are lazy. They don't understand it. They don't care. I don't think they have the ability or the sense of understanding of what I was trying to present for healthcare. We're having a serious problem in St. Kitts Nevis. It's only going to become an issue when it hit them direct, and it will hit them direct at some point in time. And that is one of the issues I have with our people in St. Kitts and Nevis. It's a common thing around the world, but most I'm dealing with St. Kitts and Nevis. People defend politicians and their nonsense until it affecting them directly. And even when it affects them directly and you try to make the correction, they try to kill you, the person who is trying to help. So I saw some article there last week and I laughed to myself. Something to the effect that PAHO declared some area at the JNF what they were calling it. I wonder if it's the I don't know if it's the labor and delivery or the adolescent area, but something to the effect that PAHO has accredited. I can say to the world, I can say to the government, I can say to PAHO, if PAHO going to accredited anything at the JNF at all right now, what I saw there in the 20 plus months I was there and what I left there cannot be resolved within a year, within 2 years. So for them to accredited anything there, then PAHO don't want the paper that the logo is on. And these stories that this Minister of Health, this Prime Minister, and the people that are accommodating the theatrics as we spoke about, it's unfortunate that our people are not aggressive enough to understand that they can check for themselves. You can go and check for yourself and see what DJ is saying here on a Wednesday evening. Go and check and see if it's true or not. Take a drive up to Estridge Estate, check the prison project for yourself. See what's going on up there. Don't just listen to them coming to Parliament, putting on this show, coming on the various radio program, putting on this show. It's clear to see for yourself. Of course, they're in Nevis, the hospital wing. People came in 2022, and the impression they were given is that the lovely painted wing will be opening shortly. We're in 2025, and that wing is not different now to what it was in 2022. My good people, we got to wake up. I am not here just talking. I don't care about politics in general. I care about the country and what I am seeing. I have to speak about it because it pains me to see that we are paying these criminals. That's what they are. We gave them a raise of 33%. They are getting community allowances. And look at what is happening to our beloved Federation. And it hurts me to know that I was a part of the team that helped elect this Dr. Joe, Terence Joe led Labour administration. It's very hurtful because the damage that is being done, if we don't put a stop to it soon, this country going to take many years after my time, after our time to catch itself. So I ask the question again, what become of that gentleman I met in 2021? The Dr. Joe that I met in 2021? The Dr. Joe that I campaigned for in 2022? Why our healthcare system have to go through what is going through right now? I can recall speaking softly to the Prime Minister on numerous occasions and explaining to him the people that he has at the JNF, the people that he's sending there, is the wrong tools, the wrong material for the work that is required. The work that is to be done, the individuals you have there in management, the individual you send there as an actor was not functioning in the best interest of the healthcare system. I spoke about it quietly. And when I could not stay quiet enough, I must say anymore, I spoke publicly. And when I spoke publicly, I get cussed by some citizens, say I can't move the PS, no matter what I say. But I feel, before I go to Brother Benter there, I have a document that someone sent to me that hit the public domain last week. I don't know if you see it, but it's a document that was sent from the PS to the matron. And it regards to operations at the JNF, pointing out all of the issues, including nurses giving medication and not documenting properly and stuff like that. Tap your screen, let me know if you see that document.
I didn't see it, but I've heard mention of it. I've really tried to avoid seeing it, to be quite honest. But go ahead, because I do have something to say on it, but go ahead.
My issue is, I'm no longer at the JNF. And I could say my heart bleed to know what is taking place and what need to be done and what can be done. And it's unfortunate that the Prime Minister, the Minister of Health, as a doctor that I understand work at the JNF, I would say he don't really understand the dire need for changes and for the work to be done at that JNF. I spent upwards of 20 months trying to explain to him what is taking place, what is going on. And he claimed he understand and he knew, and that's why I was there. Well, I'm no longer there. And I'm getting the calls on a daily basis. I'm getting the messages. Let's go simple to just the morgue. I happen on my morning rounds. One of my route of travel will be in the area of where the morgue is. That's where they do autopsies. And partner, sometimes they are decomposed bodies that these folks have to deal with. For starters, the one room the morgue has there with the table, there is no extractor fans. There is nothing there safety-wise for those pathologists to work with. And I keep telling them, you guys are going to soon become patients. Every worker at the JNF going to soon become patient, because if you look at the distance between where the morgue is and where the kitchen is, where they cook patients' food, partner, I don't think it's 50 yards.
Huh?
I don't think it's 50 yards. It's not in the length of a cricket pitch. A cricket pitch is 22 yards. So come to think of it, it's not a length of a cricket pitch is 22 yards, and it's not the length of a cricket pitch, that distance, right? And when I got to the JNF, they was in the process of replacing the morgue roof. But what I realized, they did not just replace the morgue roof. They replaced an extra area, an extra room, maybe about another 15 feet of roof. And when I realized that the contractor was about to wrap up that job, I approached the gentleman who is in charge of the institution, the DHI. And I asked the question, I see that they have an extra area there where the roof is covered, the new roof extended to. What the plans for that? I was told that they do not know what plans Public Works had for it. And I happened to speak to the gentleman from Public Works who was supervising that job. And I asked the same question, what plans you guys have for that extra area? He said it's up to the institution. They don't have any plans. That was part of the scope of work. I then went back and I spoke to the DHI about my observation that where the autopsy room is at is unhealthy for the workers, number one. And number two, I observed over the time I'm there that while autopsies are going on, the families are members of whoever is being worked on have to stand outside in the atmosphere, whether it's sun or rain. There's no place for them for a waiting area. So I recommended that extra space that they had there, that we put it in into use, design a little waiting area for the families or whoever waiting, organize a little office space for the technicians and for the pathologists, and organize a decontamination area for the morgue. Basically, once they finish their work and a body and someone remain, those clothes should not leave the morgue area. It should go into a dirty area, and then they go into another area where they get decontaminated, and then you have a shower where they come out. So you go in dirty, but you come out clean. The DHI asked me to deal with it. So between myself, the pathologist, and the contractor, we came up with a design. Lovely design. Took it to the DHI, he loved it. He said he will submit it to the Prime Minister and Department of Health for approval. Now, mind you, all of this time, the contractor is still there doing work. So the couple of dollars that it will cost to do that extra work, I can say to you, I give you the numbers here. It wouldn't cost over $70,000, easy dollars, to get that work done. I sent the document after I realized it's going back and forth and nothing is being done. I sent a WhatsApp with the layout to the Prime Minister and explained to him the condition that is taking place there. I asked him to please support this initiative. The Prime Minister said he's in favor of it. How much years is that? It's more than 2 years. That work has not been done. If you go to the JNF, it's the same thing there. There's no extractor fans. There is no decontamination area for that morgue. There is no area, no waiting areas. And these folks there, that is not a lack of them trying. The PS came in. And to everything that I recommend, is like they try to not use it. But it's for the betterment of the people, it's for the betterment of the country. And to date, when I look at the amount of monies that are wasted in other areas, special sustainability zones, the prison project, Christoph Harbor, to name a few, and a measly 70,000 EC to give safety to the workers and the pathologists and the families that come to see an autopsy. That cannot be done in over 2 years. You hear people talk about the rats running in and out of the morgue. That's a fact. The rats running in and out of the kitchen is a fact. The birds flying in and out of the kitchen is a fact. And it goes on and on and on. So when I'm going to see a letter coming from the PS, picking on the nurses about the medication, whether it's true or false, as urgent and as important as it is, there are more major things that are taking place that I myself point to the PS that was ignored, that is still being ignored. So, Dr. Alexander, when I left the JNF, I wanted to leave there quietly and don't really get into too many things of what happened there, because I am still hoping that this Prime Minister will wake up as the Minister of Health and take his responsibility serious and understand that there's a time bomb at that institution, not only at the regular wards, but that morgue, that kitchen, and that area there where they call the psychiatric department. They are ticking time bombs. And I told the Prime Minister in his office, I said, you got people up there at that institution. It's either they really don't care, they don't understand, they're not willing to learn, or they're trying to undermine you. Because no sensible person will look at what is happening on a daily basis and allow it to continue. The simple toilet tanks, the holding tanks for the bathrooms, they back up every week. Pump truck after pump truck, pumping waste, the place smell like God knows what. When I say it's worse than a pigsty or a horse stable in the US is in better shape, I'm speaking the facts. But Alexander, you was up there. So, I mean, your views.
I want to do it in chronological order because I want this to be a historic perspective, because I want to show you that the sufferation and the trauma is cyclical, and it's kitchens cannibalizing kitchens. Because you mentioned the morgue, and go down the list. The morgue and the pathological aspect of the lab is still contained in the original Jan France. The one that was built on Buckley's estate, the one that we built, private and public sector, everybody contributed. And even before that, we had another hospital that we built that is super unique throughout the entire region, who either got them from the British or got them from the Americans or got them because a base was there, or whatever the reasons. We built 2 hospitals on our own. The one Cunningham, you see where it was situated? Nurses were in a much better situation at that point, even though we were limited in our means and still very much under the foot of Britain. Because they had an area where nurses could change, stay overnight. The whole area was zoned. Even doctors lived in Greenlands. The closest point to Cunningham, because you see where Cunningham is, where the CFBC now is, right? So when we move over to that palatial Jan France Hospital that's named after that magnanimous man while he was still alive in his constituency, yeah, when we built that, that was the pride and joy of not only St. Kitts, but the region. So when people talk about let's move towards medical tourism, that had already happened. JNF was the center for Anguilla, Nevis, Antigua, so at times USVI. Yes, that same JNF. So that is still the mark still originates there. It's that old. It's just been I think that's one of the areas that's never been refurbished, like Mr. Marish said. And again, the laboratory, the pathological aspect of the laboratory is still housed in that old section of JNF. The kitchen is housed there. The generating capacity of the hospital is still housed there. I don't know what's the capacity or the state of the generators there, but they're still housed where they originally were. So I'm telling you, that shell that Dr. Douglas built, that shell is just an extension of the old JNF. It never was a new JNF, and it can never be, because it was never intended to be so. We've always been given, like when you do the lucky dip, you know, Mr. Bento, I wonder if you're familiar with lucky dips. The styrofoam.
Yes,
That's how we go up, and when you dip in there, and I had just some of the price didn't have in anything, because it was really a fundraiser. So again, it's the same aspect that when I grew up in boys' school, that's what the school had to do, to just raise limited funds. Because again, what was given by Britain or given by the government was so limited. So I grew up as a little poor boy, seeing the people given limitations and maintenance. And to see me people hold these seeds of power for generations and still do the same limitations of us, still feel it's from a teaspoon when the pot full. So the cafeteria is there. The MRI, the new MRI is held in a refurbished section of the old place. Dialysis the same. Maintenance is where it's already originated to be in the old section of JNF. Classrooms are refurbished area of the old JNF. Physiotherapy, eye clinic, laundry and sterilization, all are in the old section of the JNF. Still, I'm just trying to show you that even before these persons come, we've been failing ourselves. So I move on to now the same, the director. You could Google and go on his Facebook if he hasn't deleted them and see the letters and his complaints under the reign of Team Unity and Dr. Wilkinson. You could see his complaints. So again, we don't even have to get personal or get to anybody. We just hold people accountable to their own words and the standards that they set publicly for us and for themselves. He was there. There was a list of complaints. There was a letter circulating. None of the separation, especially for the Cuban graduates, has stopped. Even though we are persons in position of power who are Cuban graduates. I know the persons who are working, and they thought with this new administration and with a prime minister and a minister of health that studied in Cuba, that this would no, this shouldn't be happening. People shouldn't be complaining. Doctors shouldn't be coming on the internet. Doctors shouldn't be feeling their pay. Nobody at the hospital should be feeling their pay, because we understand what are the results of your health institutions. Because I've said this before, our health institutions indicate our love for ourselves. If you can nurse back yourself, because that's what happened to animals. A horse break a foot, an antelope break a foot in the wild, that's it. The herd cannot do anything for them. We have differentiated ourselves from the other animal species by our ability to heal and empathize and go against the grain of prey versus predator. But you see this every day, because again, Jensen again was under the heel of Dr. Wilkinson and complained and bawled out, and now sits in a very powerful position. So when you tell me those are the things that he told you, he's avoiding raising the standard. Curtis Martin and that letter, at least what I've heard, sounds very reminiscent of Wendy, and that was under the Unity administration. She had nothing good to say about our nurses. And you have heard me said, and I've said it publicly, our health systems are carried on the back of our nurses. Carried on the back. I'm not asking, I'm telling, I'm not even debating that. I'm not debating about nurses, and I'm not debating about the health implications of cannabis. Those are the two things I'm not debating, because they speak for themselves. So Jensen still implementing the rule and the law of Dr. Wilkinson. Curtis, despite where he's from, Picapiali, and the magnanimous man he can be, is still being a bully and picking on the weakest link instead of adding support. Because I've told you about what's happening on the level of the hospital infrastructurally. Because again, Curtis Martin is not the PS of JNF. He is the PS of health. Health goes all across. All across. So this is not an indictment or a personal attack. Again, I cannot hold people responsible to themselves. I just know what quality I must demand for myself. So I'm going to demand that quality. And the only thing I am fearful of in St. Kitts, and I'm a fearless guy, is being admitted to JNF. With all the connections I've had, and with never having a bad situation or bad actually happened to me, I am fearful of that one entity. Everything else I'm ready to battle. Because again, for us to resolve some of the issues, it starts with human resource and treating our nurses. And it just happened that our nurses are all women. And we have a problem with even treating our Kittitian women good, much less our nurses. So in there lies the problems. You see it, our nurses and our teachers are treated the absolute worst because they're predominantly women. Because even if we talk about childbirth rates, they're great, but speak to women about their experience in childbirth. Speak to the women. I don't even have to say anything else. You go and speak to the women. Yeah, you have to have a network of persons and no persons. Otherwise, Even for the simple checkups, you have to go through some deplorable treatment and conditions. And what I'm saying, when you see a nurse ill-treat you, is because she herself is being ill-treated.
Yep.
The system is below survivable. There's no one I know that's thriving. There are persons who are giving up their personal monies. Nurses who have to catch transportation, 2 and 3 transportations toward the hospital. We don't have a public service even for nurses. And then we upset when they're late. We upset when they have to run away and go downstairs to pay a bill because nothing is being afforded to them or facilitated for them. While they're seeing things being facilitated for certain doctors, because again, there are lots of doctors who are suffering, the so-called junior doctors, which is a word I hate. Because once you pass out and you come back with the ability to serve, even if you're dropping the ball in certain regards, those are the persons we need to help. Because the persons who have never gone off to study medicine and will never go off. So even if somebody comes back and is slightly dropping the ball, it's for the support of the brothers and sisters there to help them and walk them along. Because those are our criticians. And I've felt this way since 2005 when I came back. And instead of funding us, instead of investing in us, Dr. Drew was there. He was the last to incorporate, but he felt it just as much as us. And we could have persons who 10, 20, 30, 40 years later are in positions of power and repeating the same traumas and others. It's incredulous to me, Mr. Benton.
It's something that I forgot. So while you were speaking, it came back to me when I spoke about the work and the morgue. The bad thing about it is politics is getting the better of us in every way. Because at one point, when I was pushing to get this space done and explaining to the Prime Minister and the management team at the JNF that it's best to have this contractor do that work since he's already there. Because if that contractor were to take down his equipment and have to come back to mobilize, it's going to be a mobilization cost again. A different contractor coming is going to be a mobilization cost. So why go through that process when that mobilization fee, which could be an easy 10, 20, 30, 40,000 could go into the project? And basically, the response I get is that contractor was a Unity person. He's a Unity supporter. So basically, they want him out of there. And I watched that played out, and to see the type of people we have in management going to have that kind of behavior. Now, whether you support Unity, PAM, PLP, NRP, Citizens Empowerment Coalition, you're still a critician, you're still a division. So if you're capable of doing a job, why not allow you to do that job? But what you think happened in the end? The country lost, the citizens lost. Because though the Prime Minister gave me his word that he will support the project and he will make the money available to finish the morgue, what ended up happening is that that contractor was asked to just finish up what his contract was and take down his equipment and leave the area. So, according to information I received, based on the costs that Public Works and Finance Department approved for that project at the morgue, there was a sum of $40,000+ that left back. Now, that $40,000+ could have gone into finishing the project I am trying to get done for the people at the institution. That never happened. So I do not know where that money went. But a decision was made because this contractor, apparently they think support Team Unity, should not finish a project that he started. And it's unfortunate. Brother Benter, I know we're not going to get to this evening again because there's so much as I'm speaking and reflecting that we're dealing with. I come back to you. It's maybe, if it's a year, it's not much over an year where you and I and this podcast, when I ask you to do some investigation because I was not getting the right information. And I gave my views on the MSR situation, that based on the documentation I received from Mr. Martinez, the MSR group acquire the OTI under the new Dr. Juliet Labor Administration with some shares that will offset the expenses. And after I got the information confirmed about this underselling, which we campaign on, which the Prime Minister got into office and said there's no underselling, the underselling stopped. Based on information, based on people who is in the business that I've spoken to, they explained to me, Mr. Marisha, the Prime Minister just handled the situation wrong. Because from the inception of the CBI, they have always been underselling the Park Hyatt, the Kitchen Hill, the Ramada, the now Prison Project, all of them. That is how the system is set up. There's underselling. So during our conversation over the months, you gave your input on certain things and you highlight what could be and what could not be and the effects and the country could have and the citizens, and based on past investors that has get caught. We spoke about the Madoff situation that they claim was a Ponzi scheme. We spoke about the Alan Sanford with the sticky cricket, that right now, that building at the airport warehouse, the Department of Finance for the St. Kitts government, that is a property that belongs to Alan Sanford. Alan Sanford is in a prison someplace in Texas or wherever, who was once one of the puff daddies of the not just the US, but the Federation. Cricket all over the place, the Virgin Islands. People getting $1 million for cricket. Now he's down to God knows what in prison. These are the things we were talking about. And we had some people on the thread going around doing their thing, one or two people, because you find one individual will post 20 comments to one question, which doesn't make sense. Trying to muddy the water, because that is what this new Juliet Labor administration is good at. They are just good at the fake news and the AIs, and they have people that fall for it. Look at what the country is going through today. Look at where we are today. In just over 3 years, the country is in ruins, as Dr. Alex Vander said. It appears as though that these folks prefer to let the country burn to be king of the ash, and whatever the case might be. Someone sent me some pictures yesterday. You know? Even that new smart hospital where they cleaned the land a couple of times, claiming they're going to start it back in 23. That there's a sign there now, say private property. So I do not know if the sign was placed there by the government or by the private owner. But they promised us a start of a brand new smart hospital in 23. Look at where we are today. There's some clips here that I would like to play. I cannot play all of them this evening because we already 1 hour into a 2-hour program. But Mr. Bent, I ask you for your input if you have any with the Dwyer's commentary and the special
Thank
zone.
you. I must say it's a real somber afternoon listening to Dr. Alexander and yourself on the healthcare system and what's taking place, because the reality is, when you look at your ministers, how many have actually been hospitalized in JFL, and how many have visited JFL for services?
JNF,
apologies, JNF. And when you look at how many of them go to Cleveland Mayo Clinic, Emory, and those other places throughout the United States, I've seen several of them walk in the hallways because, of course, they're going to go where better is best. If better isn't best at your own home where you can walk into, and you're actually supporting another institution, knowing what you have, and yet not do what's right for your people, then that tells a story. I also heard about real estate and selling government land. To Dr. Alexander, and when he made a little commentary about the somewhere in Nevis. I think the premier's wife is a realtor, and of course they're selling government land.
No, not government land. They're reaching out to private owners.
Okay, so she's in private real estate. Okay.
Yeah.
But the deal was negotiated through government. But Mr. Bentley has no point said who this company is or who he's been negotiating with. But somehow his wife ends up being the realtor for all the land.
Okay, Brother Benta, to give you a better sense of what is taking place, that you could address it properly, let me drop that clip. Because what really happened after the cries of the people on Nevis, and rightfully so, I support the people and they have a right to this claim. The Premier of Nevis came out on Monday evening and tried to give justification to this special sustainable zone. And the reality is that I find it hard to believe that maybe a week after this law or this bill was brought into Parliament and was passed, that within a week, someone came and approached the Nevis Island cabinet wanting to present to do such a zone. I find that to be basically false. I believe that whatever arrangement that was made prior, the Premier went to the Prime Minister, they discussed this matter and decided to take that approach. So let's take a listen to the Premier himself. I think in his words, you'll be able to have a better understanding of where that is at. Stand by.
My fellow citizens and residents, I address you this evening to explain to you recent legislative developments in the National Parliament of St. Kitts and Nevis, touching and concerning the Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Law, passed with unanimous support in the Parliament on Monday, 11th August 2025. I address you at this time because the Nevis Island Administration has been formally approached by an investor seeking to establish such a zone on the island of Nevis. That investor is a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. Matters are now under active discussion at the cabinet level, and no decisions have been arrived at. It is, however, important that I keep the Nevisian public fully abreast of developments to date. Now, what is a special sustainability zone? The idea of special economic zones is not a new idea. They exist in most developed economies in the world. Globally successful examples exist in China, India, Singapore, and in Dubai. In the Caribbean, these zones have existed in Jamaica from as early as the 1970s, and the Cayman Islands officially launched its SEZ on the 3rd of February 2012. Globally, these zones are characterized by significant tax incentives, dedicated infrastructure, and a specific legal framework. Given the clear over-reliance nationally on the Citizenship by Investment program and the obvious challenges those programs are facing internationally, I have long advocated that we move at pace to diversify the St. Kitts and Nevis economy and to bring into being new and innovative ideas to drive development which is not dependent on CBI. It is in that vein that I and my CCM colleagues in opposition supported the recent passage of the Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Act in the National Parliament. I believe that the National Parliament has significantly improved upon the idea of the Special Economic Zone. St. Kitts and Nevis is the first country in the world to introduce an enabling mechanism for special sustainability zones. Zones that go beyond economics and include requirements to develop in harmony with nature, create long-term high-quality jobs, ensure renewable energy and water security, restore land and protect our environment, provide sustainable services inside the zone. This ensures that any such zone in St. Kitts and Nevis combines prosperity with sustainability. Now, how does the law work? Let me take a few moments to explain to you how the law is intended to work. The law is quite simple, running to a mere 9 pages. Section 3 sets out the objectives. These include sustainable development in harmony with nature, creation of long-term investments and quality jobs, and the promotion of development which focuses on water security, green energy transition, food security, and luxury accommodation. The law makes it clear that a special sustainability zone is created when a development agreement is entered into in relation to a specifically defined geographic area on either St. Kitts or Nevis. Under Section 4 of the law, the Prime Minister may enter into such development agreements and so declare any such zone on the island of St. Kitts. However, where any such zone is to be declared for the island of Nevis, Section 4.2 of the law makes it clear that there can be no such zone created in Nevis without the approval and consent of the Nevis Island Administration. I want to emphasize here that there can be no designation of any area in Nevis as a special sustainability zone unless the Nevis Island Administration agrees and approves that declaration. Full control of the development direction of Nevis therefore remains firmly and exclusively with the Nevis Island Administration. The role of Nevis applicable to any zone in Nevis is not restricted to the Nevis Island Administration. Under Section 7 of the law, any development agreement where the zone is in Nevis must be ratified and passed in the Nevis Island Assembly. Put differently, there is oversight and control at both the cabinet level in Nevis and at the parliamentary level as well. The mandatory involvement of the Nevis Island Assembly also ensures that any such development agreement is fully ventilated publicly so that the Nevisian people will know exactly what is being proposed on the island of Nevis. Section 9 of the law provides yet additional safeguards by empowering the Prime Minister for zones in St. Kitts or the Premier for zones in Nevis to establish an independent oversight body to receive and review applications from potential zone developers and to monitor compliance with any zone development. Lastly, the law contains a large number of preconditions before any zone can be considered. Under Section 5, any applicant to develop a zone must show, among other things, an economic analysis from a reputable firm showing long-term economic benefits to St. Kitts and Nevis, clear plans for developing the infrastructure within the proposed zone so that there is no cost to the Kittitian or Nevisian taxpayer, that the development will cause no harm to the natural environment, that the development is designed for comfort and luxury, that the development will generate water and renewable electricity to meet its needs, clear plans for health services, clear plans for safety and security within the proposed zone, dispute resolution mechanisms for residents in the proposed zone. As these are all preconditions, it means that any proposed zone developer must satisfy these requirements before being considered as a suitable developer for any proposed zone in St. Kitts or Nevis. Now, what does this mean for Nevis? Of course, for a zone to succeed, we need serious investors and partners. For years, I have said that Nevis needs a game changer to take our island to the next level of development. The current investor has proposed a development for Nevis which has the potential to create thousands of permanent jobs for Nevisians at home and allow Nevisians abroad to come back home and find meaningful employment, bring billions of dollars of investment to our island, generate hundreds of millions in direct revenue for government, which will allow us to improve healthcare, strengthen education, upgrade our infrastructure, and expand social services, dramatically increase tourism and international recognition, making Nevis a leader in the Caribbean and a shining example to the world, preserve all historic sites and full access to our people, creates significant opportunities for new businesses and the expansion of existing local businesses into the zone. I anticipate that more details will be shared in the weeks ahead, but I see before us a future fueled by prosperity, sustainability, and indomitable Nivision pride. Let me now turn my attention to some of the false remarks being bandied about in the public domain by the usual.
I'm not even going to play the complete clip, to be honest with you, Brother Benter, because the road that the Premier is going down now, trying to throw accusation amongst people, does not change the fact that, number one, it was not the Premier that tabled this bill in Parliament. It was Prime Minister Joe. And any address to the nation on this matter should have come from Prime Minister Joe. But just from the beginning, so it is in the end. Prime Minister Joe has not shown any interest as he claimed to be the Prime Minister for all. He has not shown any real interest in Nevis. It appears as though these prime ministers, it's unfortunate, but I feel this way. It's only when it is in their benefit. They remember Nevis, Whenever there's a tie in seats in the federal government and they need some kind of help from the Nevis end. Outside of that, Nevis is non-existent. We're going to put a stop to that. The Citizens Empowerment Coalition will put a stop to that because we're going to represent across the board. Now, the Premier started off by saying that, and I want you to put all of these in your comments. The Premier started off by saying that this bill was presented in the federal Parliament on August 11th. I'm not sure if it's prior to that date or during that time. There was a town hall meeting on Nevis that the Premier chaired, and there was a young lady that was asking questions in regards to this special sustainability zone, and he denied it. There's a young lady who was questioning his wife being involved in calling people to purchase land in that south coast area of Nevis. And he was very taken back and was defending the situation. Now, the Premier come and said that there was approach by a team to do the sustainable zone. If he had any respect for the people of St. Kitts Nevis and the DJ, and for himself, he would at least tell us when did he get this call or this email or this letter. Was it prior to August 11th? Or is after the law was passed, this person show interest? Because I took that presentation on Monday evening from the Premier. It's a way of trying to do damage control. And I do not know who they're trying to fool. But so far, I got to give the people of Nevis some credit. They're pushing back and they're asking the questions that need to be asked. The problem that I have with our people in St. Kitts and Nevis, we are very good at making noise for a couple of days. And then maybe after 9 days, everything does settle and is back to business as usual. The Prime Minister have made many mistakes during his tenure as Prime Minister, and this is one of them. And I would hope that they don't go any further with this bill. And I would hope that they have a serious conversation with the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis before any future kind of plan of this magnitude is taking place. Because we are going back in the back of the bus. We are going back to slavery days under this new dispensation of politician that we have in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I believe in the saying, Short church say, give me liberty or give me death. That is how I feel. I will not stand by and watch these things taking place and don't do something about it. Let me give you a little antidote, Brother Benter. I do not know if the people of Nevis wants to march with me, so I did not put in for an application for a march in Nevis, because the last time I did that, I was encouraged to do so. And the people I was trying to march for, they basically campaign against the march and also boycott the march that I was putting together for them. But I applied to the Commissioner of Police for a march on the 29th of September in St. Kitts, starting down there at the roundabout in front of Rams at 3 p.m. I know they received my application because I received an email that they received my application. So I am speaking to all like-minded citizens, whatever party you support. It's time to hit the streets. So the DJ have started his work. September 29th, let's see whether or not they approve my application, our application, or denied it. So, Brother Benter, sorry for the interruption, but basically that is what the matter is on Nevis. The premier wife is a realtor, independent of the premier and his office. And the people say they sleep in the same bed, they have pillow talks. That's neither here or there. But she reach out to the private citizens and I guess make offers, and it's up to the people whether they want to sell or not. But I think the problem was people are saying that folks who refuse to sell land, they was told you either do it by will or by force, because we will use eminent domain, the laws that will acquire those lands. So that is where we are.
I have a full understanding with the special zone, now more codified as the explanation and listening to the recording. And also, the people have a right to know who the developer is and question the developer first and foremost. The people have a right to see what the plan is based on what's being proposed. If this has already cleared the government procedure as far as hearing, was the developer at that meeting to be queried or questioned? Thereby, with everyone who owns property under a special zone, this now, as you said, by eminent domain, cannot be obstructed by one or two individuals for a project of a scale that exceed a certain capacity. What is exactly in it? If he says the owner or the developer is a Kittitian, then of course makes it much more questionable why a proud Kittitian or division would not be proud to say, I am who I am.
Stick up in. He used the terminology Kittitian. He did not say whether it's by citizen, by descent, citizen to the CBI economic citizen.
Exactly.
And those are things that he should make clear. They're playing with words, they're playing with people.
Yes.
But according to the word on the street, it's two economic citizens.
See, games of their own people is just saying, right, it takes something that could be, if it's right, could be sustainable, but be done right or handled right should be the theory behind this. And the unknowns are always questionable. And if they're questionable in that answer, then there is something wrong. If you're going to keep it away, I would come proudly and say, DJ Marisha is going to be this developer and so forth, and whatever have you. Now, have they seen this developer develop anything anywhere else in the world, as is what being codified or discussed today? Who are the alliance or allegiances that will be applied to bringing this to fruition? What does it really entail? Self-sufficient as far as energy, we heard that. We heard water, the desalination, if that's the case, whatever they're going to do. But the people have a right to know who the players are, first and foremost. So we're going to see how that goes. And having the documents will help a lot later on so we can read, peruse it, and see what's really being said. But I heard you said something that it may be a gated community. The proposal may be for a gated community. And
that's my view.
If it's a gated community of a development of what magnitude, private assets, then the person, rather than the premier or the prime minister speaking on behalf of that, should be the individuals to come before the people or parliament, whoever it is, for the zone change or for the special zone change for their development, and not the premier speaking on behalf of the developer, not the prime minister speaking on behalf of the developer. Because it is a private gated community. If that's the case, then the investor themselves should apply for what they're looking for, go through the process like anyone building a house. You go through the process yourself. It's vetted properly to the agencies. Then you come before every agency, not to a bill, just a bill that ratifies or eradicate all of the other proceedings of the agencies that has fiduciary oversight of the actions to be taken from permitting and all these other areas. Then it becomes a government operation, apparently, through a legislation by the government itself for a private developer for a gated community. I'm trying to put that in my mind to see how that works. There's no partnership, as far as I'm hearing, with the government. And when you talk about a special zone, special zones are normally managed by a government. It is a government project where you have individuals who come in and lease property, lease and pay the government based on a government special zone request, based on what I'm hearing. If this is just private, then the private person should apply for all of those requirements and go through the proceedings of the vetting aspect as far as what their endeavors are. So something just isn't right there to me. I know I listened to Mr. Astafan as he spoke earlier, and when we talk about development, and we talk about, as I heard the premier talk about thousands of jobs, what are the industries that's coming into that area, and what are the preparation for individuals within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis to be the employees or managers or supervisors? Where is it that may require an education factor of what they're bringing that requires some special skill set for the residents of the Federation to be the individuals to be selected? Absence of that is more individuals coming in, and then you have another push of an exodus of your own people elsewhere because they're not the ones being employed or being provided those positions. Then you have the other thing you got to look at. With a development of growth in a magnitude that is of what we heard the premier spoke of, what is the niche? What is the requirement? What are the commissions that has to be provided to a private developer for a private income to that developer? What comes back to the Federation if it's all private at the end? Because I'm not hearing any collaboration as far as partnership. I'm not hearing it's 50-50 or 51-49 as far as percentage, as far as ownership of what. If this is 100% in one direction, then you have a problem. You have a problem because you don't have a say. And then you have actually pushed upstanding citizens to lose their property that they could have developed themselves for a lucrative development, being divisions. You're moving in a manner where you're actually strong arming your own people. If you don't, then we can in this manner. That's not a language that should be a part of a bill for a private entity. If it is a government domain, it's different. But you're saying that if you don't sell your land to us or to the private developer, then we're going to use the arm of the federal government or the federation to take it from you to give it to a private developer. That's illegal and that's wrong. And I think the push should be strong. The clarity should be clear that you're dealing with your own citizens, as this is not your private business. It is the business of the people of the federation of whom you are representing and not yourself. That's what I see here for the little bit that I've heard.
Yeah, well, I am appreciative of your presentation because we're on the same page with this,
Okay.
You and I are on the same page with this because what is presented, like I said, it's going to take more than 2 hours for me to go into the details and play the clip. I'm not going to dedicate that much time. And
here's the next thing, Marisha. I hear the next thing. If this is a development and you're changing the zone, why not let the owners of the property of which these developers want to encompass their development negotiate their own terms for their property on a lease to whatever development they're making, so that the individuals that owns the property continue to receive a commission or royalty for the life of the project, but the property remains under the auspices of the individuals whose family, by heritage and descendants, have passed it on to generations thereafter they have expired. Why they do it that way?
If they do it that way, the beneficiaries that are now will benefit, will not get anything out of it. So it's not going to work. Then there's no need to go to Parliament to change the law because they're changing the law to benefit themselves.
Exactly. I understand when you say the beneficiary.
Hold on, Marish. I don't think that they won't benefit. They won't benefit all because
Okay.
I love the fact that Mr. Benter, because the time there, I couldn't see his hands, but it didn't look as if he was writing. He was just listening astutely. So he reminded me when of an interrogation, he was interrogating, and I could see from his results, he was interrogating what he was listening to.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he made some valid points. Because I was trying to palpate what was the disgust I was feeling when I was listening to Matt Bantley. And I just thought it off as this is the normal disgust I feel when I hear him. But Mr. Benter put his thumb on it, on the diagnosis. The premier came on as the PRO, the public relations officer of this anonymous and unknown entity that he's referring to as a Kittition developer that we don't know of. He's not mentioning who. But more than that, he was marketing for them. So why do we have the premier, his name, his title? The premier, the leader of the NIA, minister, instead of protecting his people, instead of saying, hey, guys, these people got a lot of money. I band together and make sure I negotiate a good price. Hey, everybody over here, come in here, let's have a town hall meeting, let me lie and know, hey, you could come together, a collective agreement, and get maximize our money for them land. These persons come in with a great idea, and we thief in the idea. As a premier, I'm saying that for you, because we're Kittitians. And there's wrong generally, and there's wrong for you as a village, as a tribe. And don't tell me that's wrong, Garfield, because that's been practicing us over. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been colonies. When they colonized us, that was not illegal in Britain. It was not illegal in France, ladies and gentlemen. So why we have the same colonization when we're conscious and aware and have protectors? Our protectors are protecting other people. The same way Batney is going on is how Dr. Drew reacted when the information started coming out about the Derby. Because we've been failing on that project and they've been failing us on the project for 20 years. And Dr. Drew, brand spanking new, came in and ensured that Buddy Derby ripped off this country after he said Buddy Derby ripped off Timothy Harris, which he seems to forget that government is continuous, the excuse they use. And Timothy Harris is or was a sitting Prime Minister of St. Kitts. And if they rip off Timothy Harris, they ripped off the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So again, I'm just repeating the words of persons who were called brilliant, persons who were called premier and prime.
Dr. Alexander, the word that was used was that the agreement between Timothy and the then Christoph Harbour Buddy Derby was a corrupt deal. I don't know if you want to use ripped off or corrupt, but the words that were used was.
I want to quote him correctly, sir. So, and Dr. Benton also asks a very pertinent question. What is the return on investment for us? The return on investment, we can't continue to say employment. And I heard Mac Brantley again, he speaks down to us. If you're an accountant, you could be an accountant over there. That's what I grew up, that I could be an accountant at TDC. When I told people I wanted to be a doctor, I could be an accountant at TDC. When I told them I wanted to do chemistry and biology, teachers told me where I was going with that. That's in the 90s, I'm telling you. That's after in the 80s, growing up and hearing my parents and everybody else's parents in my neighborhoods in Market Street and McKnight tell us, I can't go cut cane. So the motivation just changed overnight. People were preparing us to go into the season Hartsfords. So we had teachers who in their minds failed and wanted us to fail too. And you could sit and talk with many Kittitians who told you, who feel within themselves and know that their success story, who tell you the amount of, not just teachers, because I've sat in a shop, a mom and pop shop in Central, and heard my community smite and curse a young man and say he must meet jail, and he was no more than 9 years old. I'm just repeating the things that we do to ourselves. Because a lot of times we look at the white man, we look at others, and we practice a type of otherisms. But our traumas, Our failures, our greatest hurts have been inflicted by our own, by the people we designated and chose to lead and protect us. They're protecting others.
Dr. Alexander, Brother Benter, I can give you my life story in the Republic of St. Paul's. My grandfather was an estate worker. He was a fisherman. He was very good with his hands. He made boats. He used bamboo cane and plat fish pots. He plat baskets and stuff like that. But from Thursday to Sunday, he's an alcoholic. He drunk. During the week, from Monday to Thursday, he smoked his pipe. You don't hear nothing out of him. But come Thursday to Sunday, he stays drunk. And who he had with him every step of the way? My little family. It was this little red boy here that my grandfather had with him at every step, whether it's at the mountain, at the sea, or at the liquor shop. A little red boy. That was me. And I can recall someone at the liquor shop one Sunday afternoon. No, it was a Saturday afternoon. Look at me. As you said, I could not be no more than 9, 10 because I remember it well. Look upon him. He gonna come just like his grandfather. And that stuck with me throughout my life.
Generational curses.
Yeah. And you know, the funny thing about it is my entire family up to my point, was always either sugarcane worker, estate worker, carpenters, fishermen. I broke that curse. I became the first electrician out of the family. I advanced to where I am today and show those individuals. And even up until today, those individuals still want to make sure I am what they wanted me to be, you know. But that is not going to happen. Because guess what? God gave me the talent and I'm going to use it. This is why my good friend that passed away a couple of weeks ago, where they used to Hendrickson, he told me, Mr. Marisha, I'm so proud of you. Look at how Timothy locked you down in quarantine. If you wasn't locked down in quarantine, you would have never known this part of your talent to be a podcaster. And it's a fact. And for the people that are upset with Timothy, they should not be upset with him. And I forgive Timothy. The COVID era has passed. I accepted what they did. I had no control over it because they had the power. But I used the oranges that they gave me and made orange juice. I used the lemons and I made lemonade. And the same podcast, he used it and cut his ass in 2022. And I gave Timothy credit and respect because we spoke and he understood where he made his mistake and should have listened a little more. And he promised to do better and whatever the case might be. And you got some folks out there because I choose to be a man, a good citizen, and communicate with Timothy at that level. Might have a problem with me communicating with Timothy. But the DJ has one vote. If I choose to vote in St. Kitts Nevis, it is up to the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis who they elect, not the DJ. I have made it clear to Timothy that I have forgiven him. But if I were to support Timothy ever again as Prime Minister, he would have to come here and talk to the general public because I follow what the public tells me to do. He would have to tell the general public what was in his head when he decided to give the Galaxy Group 5,500 shares, aka 5,500 files for a prison project at Estridge Estate. What was in his head when he gave away the amount of citizenship equal to half of our population? He would have to come and tell the people that. He would have to come and tell the people why a $40 million US project, they get the amount equal to over 900 million. He would have to come and tell the people that. But Dr. Drew in the same breath have to do the same thing for the people. because he campaigned against it. He called it treasonous. He called it corrupt. But he turned around and signed off, according to the information I received, the most of those CORs, the most of those citizenship. So here we have two individuals in our beloved federation that basically have committed treason. I don't want to say anybody get hanged. I don't want to say anybody die. But I have heard several people say our constitution called for death by hanging for treasonous behaviors to our country. So this is where we are, gentlemen. We are at a very serious crossroads. And just as Timothy had said to those that he terminated in May of 2022, that none of them could hold a candle to him. Prime Minister, you cannot hold a candle to Timothy or anybody else, because he, who should have been the savior of our beloved federation, has done worse than even Timothy to this country. And it's unfortunate. Gentlemen, time is going against us. There's two quick things I want to touch, and I want to give you all an opportunity to do your closing. So this conversation, no matter how we try to finish it on a Wednesday evening, it's too much going on. It's not going to finish. It will have to continue. Because as Dr. Garfield spoke about the Christoph Harbour situation, that is still a burning issue that need to be vetted, that need to be vented. The situation there with Mr. Glenn Barrows, that have to be vented. The situation at the prison project, we have to deal with that. But there's another new one popping up. Mr. Reggie Francis, I interviewed him on Sunday evening. That marina that he created over there in the New Guinea area is under threat. Again, a prime minister, a son of our soil, our AG, according to Mr. Reggie Francis, the AG, the current AG, was his attorney for this matter against the former administration, who now becomes AG under this government, who have sent him a threatening letter that the case that he was working on against the former administration, if he don't withdraw his case against the government, they will move to evict him from the lands. And basically,
his attorney. The sitting AG was his attorney.
Well, his attorney.
And now the sitting attorney, who was past attorney, is sending him mandates by the government of eviction.
Eviction, if he does not withdraw his lawsuit. And he have until September 15 to do that.
I must look at that document and see what it is. If the AG, who was his attorney, and where the case was filed, whatever jurisdiction it was filed, and where the present AG, who was the attorney, filed in that court, and now he's coming at him in to what you call a double jeopardy behavior. This man has a very good case. Because who more than you and I knows...
Case or there's no case? Which one?
He has a very good case. If he pursues it, if this was filed in another jurisdiction, where this present AG was his counsel, now the present AG is now coming at him as his counsel when he was before. He's using information, attorney-client privilege. He's dead. I have never seen an atrocity like this. So I don't know who the gentleman is. I'm sorry, I don't know who the gentleman is. But the court of which this filing was in, or I don't know where it was filed, but he has a good umbrella of shelter to now reopen his case.
Well, let Mr. Bento finish, man. Let finish.
Mr. Bento, like I said, timing against us.
Mr. Bento patient all night, until that point. When he heard that, he was like, no, what?
Yes, gentlemen, but time is against us. But what I'm going to say to you, Mr. Bento.
Yes, sir.
You have done some good work for St. Kitts Nevis. I wasn't in a position to pay you. I'm still not in a position to pay you.
And I'm looking for it.
This particular matter, I need your input. I need you to follow up on this matter for me, because we cannot allow our government to kick a son of the soil out of a business that he have built over the years to put in an outside investor. I'm going to play this clip.
No, they're putting in a special sustainability zone there. That's exactly what they put in.
Oh, this man is sitting in a cash cow and he doesn't know it yet.
Yeah.
Gentlemen,
he knows he has a cash cow, but they've been preventing him from taking the cash cow to market or from milking the cash cow. That's what they've been doing, this son of the soil, for all these years. I'm shocked. I think he's a bit afraid because of who he think he's going up against. Because like you, this I don't know. Sorry, Mr. Marshall. Go right.
Gentlemen, I'm going to play this final clip so that we could touch this matter.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you guys a chance for your closing and we're getting out of here. Like I said, this thing, after my interview with Mr. Francis on Sunday, is where I got the grips of what have transpired. So, Brother Benta, I would ask you to go back and look at that interview. But I'm going to drop a clip now. And this is a promise by the current representative for that area for Labour, Mr. Samuel Duggins, promising a pier. And when they spoke about promising a pier in the New Guinea area, I was kind of concerned what he's talking about because I know Mr. Francis have invested some great deal of money in that area, but not realizing until some agreement was signed in the presence of the Prime Minister some weeks ago with some African body to develop that area. So not only that, we're going to have some issue and the front with Mr. Reggie. If they were to go forward with that kind of development in that area, we currently have the Brimstone Hill Fortress there as a heritage sanctions place. They're going to lose that status as well because this kind of operation cannot happen that close to that place. So let's take a listen to this clip from Brother Samuel Duggins.
And I told you in half a tree about the pier that we are looking to bring to New Guinea. I told you about the commercial dock we are looking at for New Guinea. And I want to tell you that the developers have told me that they are primed and ready for this pier. And we now have the right tools, the right backing, and I am pleased to tell you that within the next year or less, you will have boats docking at the pier in New Guinea, ready to serve the people of our constituencies.
Well, we can say that they didn't live up to that promise because it's been 3 years and we ain't seen any dock. But to know that Mr. Francis has done the work, have done his everything and ready to rumble, and to see that this government that took over, knowing what it was dealing with, when they should be making life easy, and a son of this soil, I think he told me he has some 70 plus employees that work at that area. It's unfortunate that this is what the DJ campaigned for, and this is what we're getting. Prime Minister, you promised me on this podcast when I asked him directly, Mr. Dr. Joe, please, when you get in there, do not make the mistake or continue down this road or even do worse than the farm administration. And he said to me, DJ, that could never happen. He have proved me wrong. He have done just that and more. So, gentlemen, Dr. Garfield, I'm asking you guys to drop your closing. I don't know who wants to go first because I know you guys are long-winded today. I know you guys have been waiting for this afternoon. So.
I'm gonna go first, and because I want to listen to Mr. Bento wrap up. I feel I'm gonna enjoy this one. Treason. I'm all for it. In 2014 in Ghana, that's the only case I've researched. And in 2014 there was a trial. The guy was convicted and sent, but then he was pardoned in 2017. So Of the person thinking that it's not real, it can't happen. Again, this is fiduciary duty, fiduciary responsibility, and we have clear examples of guys not living up to what they promised, what they took oaths for, what is just the minimal. So treason, I'm all for that. And if I'm a part of any government or a part of advisorship or a part of anything, that's what I'm pushing for. Because that's the only way that we don't have a repeat of these occurrences. We've had them all our lives. I am on Facebook with persons, or on social media, people come on there and in my comments and let me know. That will never happen. And I thank blessed Jah that just the example of cannabis, because I myself was a non-believer. Even though I was in the vanguard, I was a non-believer. I thought that never in my lifetime, or maybe when I was 80, 90 years plus, I'd see the legalization or the move to decriminalize cannabis. And look at the world now. So if persons feel my daughter and our children, the next generations are going to go on and stomach, like my grandmother used to say, what these leaders are, misleaders are giving and dishing out, they lie. So nobody's going to come under my post and spread that negativity or spread that powerlessness. Where was I? I had my notes to conclude. Yeah, you mentioned the mottos. Interesting enough, in Cuba, it's patria o muerte, which means country or death. And I always used to juxtapose that against our Kittitian home, because country above self, I'm not too sure if I buy totally into that, as a man that's seeking to be sovereign and who wants a nation that's sovereign. There must be a balance where I'm just as important as my nation as a whole, and I don't have to be separate. Because the things I want for my person and my body is the same things I want for St. Kitts. Good food, proper nutrients, water, balance, spiritual balance is the same thing I want for my nation that I want for this body here. Short shut. So I think Short shut put it best, and you hear me say this all the time. I believe that that's the best calypsonian in the world per capita. Because Antigua should not have produced such a brilliant calypsonian with them level of social commentary. And he used to say his one was, give me liberty or death. If me ain't got me sovereignty, me liberty and me freedom and me autonomy to speak up, and people feel like somehow that silence is politically correct. Silence is how I become a man. If I can't speak what is going on in my man and be able to live up to the repercussions, I'm a little boy living in my mother and my father's house still. And that can be for a man nearing 50 that put in work for himself and family and nation. Nobody could help me on that. So, yeah, that was the one with Short Shut. And I think I was finishing up on the return on investment. Like just as the investors, foreign direct investors, anybody is looking for that return on investment. I as a bank practitioner, looking for my return on investment as well. And how I measure my return on investment is quality, is via quality, my quality of living, the quality of living of people around me, because I could be good just like Curtis Martin and all these others who are putting their heads in the sand. I could be good and just go about my title, do the bare minimum. I could go ahead. But that's not the world I want to live in. I can't just throw stones behind my back just like that, because I firmly believe the persons who sacrifice much for what I've achieved. And I don't think I need to do the same level of sacrifice. So for each administration, I don't plan to come on Mr. Marisha's show. And I don't wish that for him either. I don't wish that for him. So our movement now has to move from just the making the noise and the marching and the boots and the going again to meet in those rooms with like-minded individuals and enact the change, because this ain't hard. Terrence Michael Drew and Mark Brantley are not masses. We no longer live in slavery. The emancipation is not just off our lands and the law. Emancipation doesn't come to that. It's how we value ourselves as Kittitians and Divisions and as Caribbean people. To don't repeat the mistakes of the past. To don't allow people to curse us like how they done before. Because people, teachers, people who were put in my way to encourage and push me, the majority of them didn't. So sometimes we meet in these occasions and we talk of the special persons that motivated us. When are we going to call out the persons that used to call us down and place curses on us and want to see us like we're uncles and aunts? Those are the things we have to speak to. I used to be supping up in arms with white versus black. I can't anymore because no level of racism I face in Cuba, anywhere else, has come close to the level of hate I've received from friends and family. Just in speaking up. So I ain't even gonna talk about the whole rest of my life. I'm talking about now when I'm a sovereign man. I've done the things that I've done. People still want for me to hush. People still want for me to suffer. And while I'm suffering, prove that I'm good, or prove that I'm productive. Brilliant people who are suffering too. Yeah, man, a lot of Stockholm syndrome in the place.
Yes, Brother Benter. By the way, I made a mistake a while ago when I said September 29th. The application I put in for the match is Friday, September 26th. Friday, September 26th. So make a correction.
I already put down 20, yeah.
Friday, September 26th, 3 p.m. Yeah, Brother Benter.
Those individuals and Nevis, I would recommend, it's a sad thing when individuals who will enrich themselves along the way, because this development as I'm listening to, and I love to hear Mr. Grantley speak. I love to hear every parliamentarian who St. Kitts speak. Very eloquent. But with the eloquence must come with some respect for your own. You want to grow, yes. An opportunity, if this is an opportunity for the people of Nevis, then let the people who own their property also be part of that entrepreneurship. There's nothing wrong with becoming a partner with something that's actually tangible and real. Dividends, if necessary, for the rest of their lives, of the family, and everyone who will partake in it. I would urge, though, for those who are listening, who are part of this whole land boundaries that will be affected, if you are, in fact, going to challenge and make sure some things are done, that properties, if any development takes place, does not cross boundaries. You gotta make sure that none of these buildings exceed over to another boundary of somebody else's property. They must be careful so that when time comes for them to take action where defaults are in place or the company goes belly up, if that's the case, that they have entitlement to what's on their property and it doesn't go in another direction as well because they will be a partner. That's why I asked them about 50 or 49, 51, 49 or what percentage. Back to the person with the marina, and you have what you call the FCPA, foreign corruption when it comes to the Protection Act when it comes to business. The marina carries several insurances because they're doing business nationally and internationally. And at the same time, with 70 employees, and to see that an individual from the source, well, a son of the soil, took something from nothing and made it something that no other people realize, but you're not entitled to have that anymore. This belongs to us because they see the potential. Why not work with him to grow the potential? But to totally eradicate it from this man is totally illegal. And there are individuals who are very versed in it. As you know, DJ Marisha, I was in charge of a flight department of the company of which I was the vice president. I was in charge of a marine division of the company of which I was the vice president of. So when it comes to maritime, and we're talking about 12 miles off from shore, as Dr. Alexander said, the seabed has a lot of revenues to protect. We have aquaculture and many other fabric. Who knows what other things is there as far as natural gas is? We gotta be careful of what we're giving away without knowing our true value and ability to grow it. So I look forward to sitting with this gentleman. And as usual, I'm very thorough to see what it is that's going on and who are really the players, as well as Nevis, who are really the players and who are also the prophet inheritance to be for the future as well, so that the people of Nevis can have a better understanding of what they're getting themselves into and whether or not they're being deceived. So I want to thank you and your listeners today. We've been very, very informative today. Listen to you, Dr. Alexander. Tells me a lot. And I really hope that as you continue with the podcast, as well as all who are listening, the people who are following, common sense must make sense. And the people who are bringing facts may not sound right in the beginning, but look at what has happened along the years. I want, based on what's taking place, any N-registered avionics of the United States, if we don't pay attention, N is registered aircrafts in the United States. And then you have the maritime as far as the vessels, the sea vessels, registered under the maritime of the United States, Be careful you don't lose your airlifts as far as American Airline, JetBlue. I don't know what comes to St. Kitts, but any U.S. registered aircraft based on the incidents and ignorance that's taking place, as well as your cruise ships. I heard them bragging about how many ships are in St. Kitts. Where are they coming from? Who are the passengers? Be careful you don't lose those commodities because of corruption. And that's my 2 cents for tonight until we get together again next Wednesday. God bless.
Hey, gentlemen, thanks for coming out. Right about now, I'm going to drop the unofficial anthem of our beloved Federation St. Kitts Nevis. This one is called Arise by the late, great King Arrow. My good people, the 2 stoats we had here this afternoon was the icon Dr. Alexander and the man himself, Mr. Oakland Benter.
Your country dying and never lend a helping hand. Would you see your children's future dwindling, creating much disillusion? Or would we watch on idly, disregarding our self-sufficiency? Maladministration building a brand new nation. We'll move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours. Building a wall so massive or a bridge, don't care how small, as one tends to divide our people, the other unite us all. Unambitious men just cannot be a part of this community. Selfishness, a total lack of interest. No, I said no, not at all. Citizens, let's unite and stand up for rights, all our lives and our lives. Let us reintegrate and correct all mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We'll move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. Let us reintegrate and correct all mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. So rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours.
Yes, my good people, and that will bring us to the close of yet another successful broadcast here at the DJ Mary Show Experience. So Wednesday, August 27th, 2025, the last Wednesday of the month.